Hi, and welcome to the last part of this video series, Accelerating AI with Continuous Delivery. Now, in this part, what we'll be doing is we will be setting up CI/CD for automated AI model training. But first things first, let's talk about what is CI/CD. Now, CI stands for continuous integration, and CD stands for continuous delivery. Basically, all of this leads to automation. Now, what this means is we want less errors. So everything that humans do can maybe lead to errors when we do it a lot, right? So we want to automate the process of training our model. Now, in the end, we want something like this. So this is called a pipeline. We will train our model and test our model independently, not on the local machine, but on a machine that is in the cloud. Now, let's see what that means. So this automated workflow part. So every time we change our model code, what we want to do is we want to then commit the code to Git, and afterwards we want to trigger this workflow. So we want to deploy each version of our model automatically. We want to automate this whole process. So basically, in the end, as said, we want something like this. So the first stage is the DVC repro train stage, and the second stage is the DVC repro test stage. We also want to add the final deployment of this to HuggingFaces. Now, in the right, you can see like this promotions part. This will be our HuggingFace spaces deployment, which will be triggered either automatically or manually by us. Now, again, what's this used for? So training, testing, storage of data, this is all in the cloud. So this is all done on a machine that is located in the cloud. So everybody that works on this project can test their code out independently. So buckets in the end store our model versions. So these are located in S3 with DVC. And the workflow in its entirety looks something like this. So first what we do is we are going to install DVC. We're going to pull the data, then trigger the training stage, and then trigger the testing stage. What will happen in the training stage is data will be stored in the S3 bucket, and then the data model metrics will be sent to the testing stage. In the artifact store, which is part of the CI/CD process, we will be storing the files. So you know that confusion matrix and everything else that belongs with it. Now, after this workflow gets triggered, we will have the deployment process to HuggingFaces, and we will also store a Docker image. Now, this is a step where we start creating our workflow on Semaphore. So there's a video included in the description down below where you can see how to create a project on Semaphore. So there's already an existing configuration inside the repository that we are using. So we can just click over here and use the existing configuration that we have. Now let's click on Edit Workflow to see how it looks like. So you can see that we have two stages over here, and these two are already inbuilt. So they are already created for you because they are included in the repository yourself. But let's check out first how Semaphore actually works and how you can create your own stages. Now, these things that we have here are called blocks. Now, each blocks can contain multiple jobs. You can imagine a job as something that we've previously ran as a Python script. So for instance, we have the train job, the test job, and multiple other jobs that you can think of. Now, inside our CI/CD workflow, we can define each of these as blocks, and each block can contain multiple jobs in it. Now with Semaphore, it's really easy to define these stages. So you can just click on the Add Block button over here, and a new block will get created for you. Now you already have this flow created for you, so you can easily reuse it instead of doing it from scratch, but you can also try Semaphore out and do this workflow on your own. Now, as said, each block can contain multiple jobs, and if we click on the train model block, we can see here that we have a job called download data and train model. Now, the script that gets triggered is over here. Now you can add multiple jobs, but we only need one in this case. So the one that is already created for you if you're reusing the repository. Now the code that gets triggered is inside over here. The one thing that's over here is artifacts. So what are artifacts? Basically, you can think of artifacts as something that allow you to store data in the cloud inside Semaphore itself. Now we will be using this feature called artifacts to store the results of our model training. So these include the metrics, the models that we are training, and anything else that might come in handy. Now, the second part is the model testing. So this is the second block that gets like triggered after the first block completes its job. Here is our final job where we test our model out by using the Python test script. Now let's check out what are the two things that we also need to add. So here we also have a thing called promotions. Now what is that? Promotions are something that happens after these two stages go through, or any stages that you define. There can be more than just these two over here. So we'll be having two promotions. One is the one that deploys things to our HuggingFace spaces. So imagine this getting triggered automatically instead of us doing it manually from our local machine, while the second one is the Docker promotion, which is going to push that Docker image that we've created inside the Docker image repository. Now these are called promotions inside CI/CD in Semaphore. You can check a video that's listed down below to read more about promotions and also go through the workflow how promotions work. Okay, so now that we have these things set up, you might have noticed that there are a few red boxes. Now these red boxes over here indicate that we need to include a few secrets. So secrets are basically our credentials. We need the AWS secret, the HuggingFace secret, and also the GitHub secret as well. Now we haven't created the GitHub secret yet, so we're going to create that one right now. Go to your GitHub profile. Now you can click over here and make sure you click on settings, and you will get to this screen over here. Now you need to scroll a bit down and go into developer settings and in personal access tokens, and click on the tokens tab. And now we will generate a new access token. Now this token will be used in the final stages of our flow to publish a comment on a GitHub pull request. Now let's click on generate new token, the classic one, and we can just write AI workshop or something like that. And you can set it to expire. So you can set the expiration. In this case, we can just leave it no expiration, but it's usually good to have these things as small as possible so that they get always renewed. Now you only need a few things to click over here. So what are these scopes? Basically, this is what we allow this token to do in the behalf of our account. We only need to add the right scope in the discussions part. So you need to like go through this and find where the discussions are. Maybe it's just easier to search for that part. So what we need to tick is write discussion and read discussion. And these are basically the only two permissions that we need to give this token. Once we've ticked that, we just need to click on generate token. And afterwards, you need to copy this in a safe place, because once you leave this page, you won't be able to access this token anymore. So make sure you copy it in a safe place. Okay, let's go to the main project page, and then let's click on the settings. Now inside here, we will be able to add secrets. Let's click on the secrets tab over here. And now let's add these secrets to our project secrets. Let's click on the add button. And the first credentials that we will be adding is AWS. Now we need to add two variables over here. One is called AWS access key ID, and the second one is called AWS secret access key. Now make sure you copy these from the previous video series that we did, and make sure you also store them in a safe place. Now it's not advisable to use your main access key ID and your main secret access key credentials to trigger workflows like these. So there are instructions located down below this video in order to make this more secure. But for the purposes of this video series, it's perfectly fine. Now let's just click on save secret over here, and this will get added. The second thing we need to add is our GitHub access token. So let's just add this over here, and the name of this one is GitHub access token. Now insert the token we've created before inside here. Once this one is created, let's add the next one. So the next one is for HuggingFace spaces. And we need to add to HF key, which is going to be our private key. So this is the key that we've created during this video series. So paste your private key inside here. And the second one is HF repo. So this is where your repository is located. We've also used this one during the video series, so make sure you copy it inside here. You can also add the key if you want to as a configuration file by uploading it here, but it's easier to just paste it inside here. Now let's save this secret. And the last one that we need to add is Docker. So let's add this secret over here, and we need to add Docker username and Docker password. So add these two over here and just click on save. Now that we've added these secrets, we just need to include them into our workflow. So let's go back to the workflow editor by clicking on the edit workflow button over here. Let's click on the first block, so train model over here, and the secrets that we need to include over here is AWS. Let's go to the second one, test model. Here we also need to include AWS, and we also need to include GitHub. So these two need to be included over here. Now let's click on the deploy part. So in the build and deploy part, we need to include HuggingFace, so the one that we've created. Click on this one, and this one will get included. Now, once you've done this, you also need to add the credential to Docker. So let's click on Docker build as well and click on secrets and include Docker here as well. So now that we've done adding these secrets to each of these blocks, we can click on run the workflow and click on this button, looks good, start. And afterward, what's going to happen is this workflow we've created over here is going to get triggered. So let's do that. Let's click on this button. Now what happens afterwards is you can see your workflow getting triggered. So you can see that the download data and train job is running. Now this is running all in Semaphore's cloud. So all of the scripts that you've written are now getting triggered inside the machine in the cloud. Now you just need to wait for this pipeline to go through, and afterwards what you can do is start clicking on these two. So you are able to deploy your app to the cloud once this build successfully finishes. So let's wait for that to finish. As you can see, our workflow is finished now. Now, if everything is successful, you can see that it turns green. Now, what does this actually mean? So this means that the training stage and the testing stage has successfully gone through, and all of the data that was produced by this CI/CD pipeline also got stored in artifacts. So let's click on the artifacts tab, and inside here you can see that you have the metrics directory. In the metrics directory, we have the confusion matrix image, the fine-tune results image, and the top losses image. So you can specifically check these out online just by clicking on them. And you can actually see now the results of this model. And afterwards, you can use this data in any way you want. Now let's go back to the pipeline. And if you want to deploy this app now, you can just click on the deploy button and then click on start promotion. And your whole app is now going to get deployed to HuggingFace Spaces. Now, this is a really cool thing. So your whole process is now totally automated. And with this, we are concluding this part over here. Okay, so let's recap what we've done in this series. So first, we've started with a Kaggle notebook. Now, we did everything online, and it was very hard for multiple team members to work on this because we only had one notebook. Then what we did is we actually moved to a local environment. So we fired up our code editor, we opened up the code, and we started working on it locally. Then we wanted to automate this whole process. So what we did is we automated the training process. We created a CI/CD workflow, and each time one of our team members works on the model training and they save their code, then it gets updated online and this workflow gets triggered. So this is super useful when you're working with multiple team members and each of them can independently try the code out. So again, an automated results process and teamwork. It's really important. So what's next? Well, is this the end? Well, not necessarily. So please join our Discord community. You can scan this code, and what we can do is you can follow our articles. So please follow our articles online and join our community on Discord. So ask, we don't bite. If you have any questions regarding this video series, you can either post a comment below or join our Discord community where we will be sharing more content.